As the sun begins to go down, anger burns in Los Angeles. People are torching buildings as the death toll rises.
Anger over the acquittal is reverberating in other cities as well.
This is CNN's World News. What you need to know, what you want to know, with Susan Rook and Jonathan Mann at CNN Center in Atlanta.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. There's probably another half an hour of light left in Los Angeles. After that, a dusk to dawn curfew takes effect there, and its people will find out whether this night will bring calm or more chaos. Rioters are in control of some neighborhoods. Since yesterday's acquittal of 4 police officers charged with beating motorist Rodney King, the rioters have the city under siege. Looters are roaming the streets, ransacking stores at will and setting buildings on fire. The coroner's office says 17 people are dead, more than 400 have been injured. The first of 2,000 National Guard troops are moving in, trying to seize control of the situation. While most of the violence is in the south central region of the city, looting and burning is spreading to Hollywood and Beverly Hills.
And now for the latest on developments on the streets of Los Angeles, we go to CNN's Greg Lamont. Greg?
Susan, it is a sad commentary on our society when those who risk their own lives to save ours suddenly become targeted for death. But such is the case in Los Angeles tonight in the City of Angels, following the worst day of rioting since those in Watts in 1965. There have been people killed, people are being injured, stores are being smashed, then their contents emptied and set on fire, all while police can only sit helplessly by because they are heavily outnumbered. Firefighters scrambling from one blaze to the next need police escorts because of gunfire directed at them while they are trying to save a building. Even the paramedics, whose sole goal is to save life, say they too have had to hide from flying bullets. The level of looting intensified Thursday. People in broad daylight used whatever was convenient to smash through gates and glass. They did so with no fear of arrest or cameras trained on their crime. When the looting would begin, it was like watching frantic ants going in and out of the ant hole. Only in this case, there were smiles on many of their faces. The looting wasn't confined to any one ethnic group or any one section of the city. Parts of Beverly Hills were looted, and so was Hollywood. Banks closed their branches, fearing mob robberies. Businesses shut down, but that didn't stop them. They crashed the glass, cleaned out the buildings, and for no apparent reason, set them on fire. Although one policeman suggested it was to create chaos and smoke as they're covered to loot some more. The city was darkened by the fire after fire after fire. The National Guard is on the streets, joining forces with the Los Angeles Police Department tonight. There is a dusk to dawn curfew. Every effort imaginable is being made to stop this before it should get worse. Just from our vantage point on top of this roof, we can show you some of the destruction this has caused. In every direction that we can see, there's fires billowing out, major fires. Firefighters doing all they can to put out these fires and still coming under gunfire, rocks, and bottles. This is Los Angeles as we see it tonight, at least part of it. Greg Lamont, CNN Live, Los Angeles.
Greg, what are the officials that you've talked to saying? Do they think that this curfew will be obeyed?
Mayor Bradley has come out publicly saying that he hopes every effort will be made to do what they can to get people to stay inside their homes. They're saying, please, just for one night, don't go out. Stay inside of your home. Police don't think that it's going to do much good, although they say they'll use any help that they can get. A lot of the policemen that we dealt with today were saying, why can't the National Guardsmen come out now? Why do they have to wait until tonight? Because the scenes we saw today were sickening. People just going through stores, taking whatever they wanted, running out, laughing, and then someone would throw a torch inside, and minutes later, an entire mall, $1 million mall or maybe more, would be set on fire. This rioting has already caused hundreds of millions, at least $100 million in damage from what I've been told.
Greg, you mentioned some of that help. The National Guardsmen, the governor apparently has authorized another 2,000 National Guardsmen. Any word on when they will be on the scene?
I haven't been privy to that information because I've been out on the field all day, although about an hour and a half or so ago, a contingent of National Guardsmen showed up across the street from where we were located. We were happy that was happening because we were being pelted with bottles as we were trying to communicate with you folks.
I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but We do have a report that a firefighter was apparently injured while trying to fight a fire. You mentioned that earlier. Any idea of his condition?
From what I understand, his condition is improving. As I understood it, he was shot in the face and was taken to the hospital. Initially, he was in pretty bad condition, but as the last thing I heard, he was improving. Just a few moments ago, another death in all of this pulled up right into the parking lot of this store that we're standing on top of. It was a man inside of a backside of a hatchback car. He was laying on his stomach. A man had picked him up off the street. Apparently, he was standing on the street when someone drove by and shot him in the head and shot him in the back. He died inside that car.
Thank you, CNN's Greg Lamont, keeping us up to date from the streets of Los Angeles. He will, of course, be there through the evening. Days before this verdict came in, Chief Daryl Gates warned the Los Angeles police force that trouble could erupt. Now that it has, he admits his people were, in his words, overwhelmed. Here's CNN's Dan Blackburn.
This was the all-too-common scene in parts of this beleaguered city. Looters smashing shop windows and stealing the contents with virtually no concern about whether police would arrive to stop them, because often they didn't. At City Hall, Chief Gates admitted his forces had more than they could handle, trying to stand guard for firefighters and shop owners.
It was simply impractical to do either until the firefighters were protected, and impractical for the officers to take people into custody when they were simply overwhelmed.
And on the streets, officers themselves differed over what to do.
All you had to do, sir, listen up! And they run. I understand that. You listen to me, okay?
Firefighters, too, found themselves stretched too thin. As new fires broke out near Hollywood, residents complained that it took too long for the firemen to arrive.
I told the 911 people that there's a big fire going on South New Hampshire Street. And, they said, thank you, and they just kept it down. And the people, they came after 20 minutes.
I beat the fire truck from over here. So, in my opinion, the response was ridiculously slow. It didn't make any sense.
And people who gathered to watch often engaged in their own heated exchanges.
We are out here to revolutionize.
We are showing something. We're showing something. We're showing that we are angry. We're frustrated. We're not going to sit on our asses and take it anymore.
Back at City Hall, some blamed the news media.
When are you going to assume your responsibility as well, and you haven't hyped this thing right up until the day, D-Day?
And others worried about the longer-term implications.
We have yet to fully recuperate, that is, from an economic vantage point, from the crisis in 1965. And here we are with a situation that is in some ways more disastrous.
While some recent, newer citizens expressed dismay at what they were witnessing.
I think it's stupid, I think it's ridiculous, and I think people have, probably it's too much democracy, too much freedom, and the people don't know what to do with it.
I think it's outrageous. I mean, for any civilized human being, this kind of thing should never, ever happen.
Meanwhile, firemen continued to battle flames, and police chased looters. But for both, it often was a case of playing catch-up. Many on these streets believe the outnumbered police and firefighters will continue to be overwhelmed for some time to come. And the finger-pointing is likely to go on for much longer. Dan Blackburn, CNN, Los Angeles.
The fuse in the Rodney King case was lit in Southern California, but it stretched today all across America. In Atlanta, there were some disturbances reported. 300 arrests were made by police, and now Atlanta Mayor Maynard Jackson has issued orders that a curfew will be in effect this evening from 11 p.m. till 5 a.m. It is apparently for this evening only. It will be reevaluated tomorrow. With more now on the impact across the nation, here's CNN's Mark Leff.
Around the country, people are angry, demonstrating at state capitals in Texas and in Idaho in the first few hours after the acquittal in California. In some places, people did more than march. There was trouble on the streets of Atlanta Thursday afternoon. Crowds attacked people and property in the city's main commercial district. The trouble began not long after a peaceful prayer rally at the tomb of civil rights leader Martin Luther King, Jr.
So not only are we here today to stop the killing in Los Angeles and stop the killing in the suites, we must stop the killing in our own community.
Somebody broke into a police garage in Wisconsin, damaged nearly 3 dozen police cars, and left a note linking the action to the Los Angeles verdict. The bells at the Church of St. John the Divine in New York rang to demonstrate what church officials called solidarity with the people of Los Angeles. while a city councilman whose father represented Harlem in Congress condemned the verdict.
It makes you hate this country, the United States of America. It makes you hate that flag. It makes you hate cops. And it makes you hate all white people who can even think of beginning to excuse this verdict.
Joining Powell and other community leaders, a woman who says her son was choked to death last year as New York City police tried to subdue him.
It's injustice for all of us, you know, people of color. And I wonder, is it ever going to change? We're tired. We really are tired of this, and we can't take no more.
There is anger, too, in Minneapolis.
As for that lie, there's only a minority of police whooping our heads. That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. The minority is the few that don't whoop our heads.
And at the National Black Police Association convention in Atlanta,
beware, because you're going to see police officers drawing guns and fighting other officers now. Because we are not going to accept the verdict as it came down.
demonstrators blocked traffic on the top deck of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. Around the country, many people are looking at the not guilty verdicts in Los Angeles and asking why. And a few are using the same event to ask, why not? Mark Leff, CNN, reporting.
We will have more on the situation in Los Angeles when World News continues. Stay tuned.
Darkness is falling in Los Angeles and flames are rising. By the accounts we're receiving here, the number of fires is certainly not going down. For the latest now on the situation, we go to Dan Blackburn live in Los Angeles. Dan?
This is a city where last night, when the trouble began, people spoke of it as a reaction to the Rodney King verdict. That may have been true then. It is doubtful that it is true now. Indeed, what is taking place in this city at this moment borders on insurrection, as rioting, arson, and looting has hopscotched across the city. You're looking now at Hollywood, the latest hotspot in this city, where at least 2 major fires have been set, burning very close to the CNN studios from where I am speaking at the moment. The well-known Beverly Center at the edge of Beverly Hills was evacuated earlier today. As you can see in this picture, the streets are virtually deserted now because people are afraid to be on them. The area that you see marked unrest is no longer just that area, but much more widespread. You can see where Hollywood is between the area marked unrest on our map and Hollywood. It is a complete area of violence, looting, and fires. You could draw several street maps through there, and on any major thoroughfare, you would almost certainly see both looting and burning. And it is the strangest mixture to watch. There is a great deal of anger, a great deal of rage. People driving past us who hollered as we were on the streets, "It's payback time, how do you like it?" And others who actually were dancing in the streets, carrying looted goods from stores and pausing to dance and wave their hands. A state of emergency has been declared here, as you know. The National Guard is on hand. There are people here who are saying privately and with increasing tendency to say it publicly that they may have to call in the regular army as well. This is a situation that, as far as we can tell, authorities are unable to control. Now, the curfew soon will be in effect, and then we'll see what effect that has. But given the long stretch that the police must face, even backed up by National Guard resources, it is very difficult to impose a curfew on a city of this size, a city that sprawls over such a large area and where anyone can get in a car, drive, and throw a Molotov cocktail or some other firebomb and start another blaze where there are no police and no firefighters. It is likely to be a very, very long night tonight, and things may not be much better tomorrow.
Dan, as you're following the situation there, do you have any sense of numbers now? How many fires are being reported? How many are burning right now?
No, I don't, and there's a very good reason for that. The fire department doesn't know for sure either. They are simply breaking out faster and over a wider area than even the fire department can keep track of. We called not long ago to try to get a fix on a couple of the more recent blazes, and their basic response was, we'd like to help you, we'd like to give you the information, but we can't, not because they won't, but because they simply can't. It's beyond their scope to keep track of it that thoroughly.
Now, you mentioned something that's intriguing and very saddening at the same time, talk of the National Guard's help being supplanted or added to by the Army's help. Is that just a suggestion that people on the street have been making, or is that being seriously considered by the authorities there?
I cannot say whether it's being seriously considered by the authorities, but I know that when I was at City Hall earlier today, when I was out on the streets later, you would hear that refrain mentioned over and over again from people in all walks of life. We're talking about city officials, we're talking about people on the streets standing looking aghast at what they are seeing in their neighborhoods. They feel the situation is beyond the ability of authorities here to control.
Now, going back to something that we were saying over and over again yesterday, something you've alluded to, when we began reporting this story some 24 hours ago, we were making a point of talking about how this was a small, localized area in a city that covers, I guess, approximately 500 square miles. How localized is it now? You alluded to it. How much of the city really is covered in smoke, or is smoke visible from?
Virtually the entire city of Los Angeles is covered in a pall of smoke. The smoke stretches from one point of the skyline all across the area. That's why, for example, flights into this city have been widely diverted out over the ocean to try to bring them in away from the smoke to make for safer landings, and delays at LAX are getting very, very long. This is a city in which the smoke is basically the ceiling for much of it. The rioting, the looting, and the burning has spread to many areas of the city that have never, ever witnessed anything like this before. People who want to make comparison to Watts riots in 1965, from this point forward, there is no comparison, and the damage estimates, I've been told unofficially in some quarters, are now believed likely to hit $1 billion.
CNN's Dan Blackburn reporting live from Los Angeles, a city under smoke, a city, it's safe to say, under siege. Our extensive coverage will continue right after this.
The Bush administration is ordering a stepped-up federal investigation of the LA police beating case to determine if there were civil rights violations. Attorney General William Barr spent much of the day in consultations on the matter.
The department and the FBI have been closely monitoring the Los Angeles case since the incident occurred. As is our established practice in such cases, we deferred action while the state completed its proceedings. We have now moved forward with our own federal complete investigation of this incident to determine whether there has been a violation of federal civil rights statutes. We began that process last night, immediately after the verdicts were returned. That investigation will be carried out jointly by the Los Angeles United States Attorney's Office, the Civil Rights Division, and the FBI. And I've instructed them to complete this review as quickly as possible.
Barr has put the Justice Department's number 3 official, Associate Attorney General Wayne Budd, in charge of the investigation.
A senior Bush administration official told reporters this evening there are valid reasons why the president hasn't denounced the verdict. The official says Mr. Bush was, quote, as astounded as anyone else in America, having seen the videotape. But the official says the president cannot undermine the jury system and doesn't want to taint the federal criminal prosecution. He also doesn't want to stir up emotions. Earlier today, Mr. Bush called for calm.
We must maintain a respect for our legal system and a demand for law and order. Second, we have a right to expect a police force that protects our citizens and behaves in a responsible manner. Third, in the American conscience, there is no room for bigotry and racism. And fourth, we have responsibilities as citizens of this democracy. I want everyone to know that the federal government will continue to pursue its legal responsibilities in this case.
Mr. Bush is to hold what is being called a listening session with black leaders at the White House tomorrow. He's to visit California on a previously scheduled trip next week. When World News continues, more from Los Angeles and the victims of South Central. What will they do now without their businesses, some without their homes? We'll have that when we return.
What were you doing down here? Just driving?
We're trying to get home and work at the airport.
But I asked the cops to help me, and they told me they couldn't.
The trouble in Los Angeles is not just confined to a limited number of neighborhoods. CNN's Robert Vito reports on citywide fear.
It was a sight not seen in Los Angeles since 1965 during the Watts riots. A National Guardsman posted to prevent looting and violence. Elsewhere, huge traffic jams as motorists headed for home before the dusk to dawn curfew began. Fear seeped across the city as looting and disorder spread beyond mostly black South Central Los Angeles. In the Wilshire district, only a few miles from Beverly Hills, looters drove cars up to an electronics store and walked off with television sets and more. A posh shopping center adjoining Beverly Hills was evacuated because of fears of violence. Those same fears forced shopkeepers on ritzy Rodeo Drive to close their doors.
I'm not at all surprised that the shopkeepers leaving. I wouldn't want to be keeping shop on Rodeo Drive today. They're a target for what's going on because people are angry, and it's easy to get angry at lovely shops and nice merchandise in the windows.
At a nearby gas station, workers replaced a steel fence in front of its windows. The night before, it had been torn away by looters. The owner never thought it would happen in this neighborhood.
No, I'm scared. Everybody's scared. All my neighborhood.
It's getting very close to my business. I'm getting scared a little bit. I'm trying to protect the business.
In Hollywood, store owners boarded up windows in anticipation of trouble. A Dodgers game was canceled, and so was an LA Clippers-Utah Jazz NBA playoff game. Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley said he will determine Friday whether to extend the curfew another day. Robert Vito, CNN, Los Angeles.
The storm spreads from South Central. We'll have more when we come back.
Updating our top story, National Guard troops are moving into sections of Los Angeles. The city is just about to enter a dusk to dawn curfew as authorities try to stop the rioting. The rampage began yesterday after a jury acquitted 4 white police officers of beating a black motorist. Looters are ransacking businesses and hundreds of buildings are on fire. The county coroner says 17 people have been killed in the rioting, more than 400 are injured. The fear is spreading from the south central section of Los Angeles. Fires are being reported in other cities, including Hollywood, Santa Monica, and Beverly Hills. Meantime, the mayor of Atlanta has just announced a curfew being placed on this city. The decision to impose the curfew is based on the recommendation of police after almost 300 people were arrested in Atlanta today. And the governor of Georgia has placed the Georgia National Guard on standby alert.
Some of the jurors who acquitted the 4 police officers are now talking about the trial, although they're remaining anonymous. They say they believe Rodney King was a dangerous person. One juror who spoke with Larry King in the last hour believes Rodney King was controlling the situation, not the police. King's lawyer finds that offensive.
In your opinion, Rodney King controlled these events?
Yes, because when he decided to stop the action, when he did indeed stop, put his hands behind his head, the officers quit striking him. And
okay.
I think had he not been constantly trying to get away, etc., I don't think this would have taken place.
In our studios, ma'am, is Stephen Lerman, the attorney for Rodney King, and he will be representing him in the civil matter and if there is other matters as well. And Stephen, is there anything you would like to say or ask of this juror?
I think that she has to understand that Brian Allen and Freddie Helms were both beaten too by officers at the scene. That never came out in the trial. There were civilian witnesses that spoke to the fact that Rodney King complied from the time that the car stopped until the videotape started. And I think she bought hook, line, and sinker the defense argument. I feel sorry for her. I know that sometimes she has to deal with the fact that there's a lot of violence in Los Angeles. And ma'am, if that's what you choose to believe, then so be it. But that is certainly not the impression I got from the evidence. And if you believe for a minute that Rodney King controlled that scenario, you'll believe anything.
Ma'am, you want to respond?
Sorry for you. Yes. We were presented with no evidence whatsoever as to the other occupants of the car being touched by the police other than searching and handcuffing. One of them was a witness on the stand. Perhaps you were in the court, I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
And he gave no indication.
He did. He stated in his examination, I believe by Mr. Stone, that he was beaten too. It was either by virtue of White's examination or Stone's, and it was just left untouched.
All right, how about Officer Brasinio, one of the defendants, statement that he thought the other 3 went too far. So you said they were all not guilty. one of them was, it's either Brasenio is wrong or they were wrong.
I felt, and I think most of the other jurors did also, feel that Officer Brasenio was trying to protect himself to the exclusion of anybody else.
How did you react to the terminology about guerrillas and the exchange between the police officers?
I reacted to that by looking at the time frame. That was another call, had nothing to do with Rodney King's incident. It was a house call on a home problem, and as everybody knows, any policeman hates to go within the home confines when there's an argument within the family.
But the term guerrillas didn't bother you?
Not at all.
The juror said racism didn't enter into the jury's deliberations. None of the jurors is black. There were 10 whites, 1 Asian, and 1 Hispanic.
On Capitol Hill today, a blow-by-blow account, literally, of the beating of Rodney King. Senator Bill Bradley of New Jersey noted an amateur videotape showed how many times King was hit.
56 times in 81 seconds. Something like this. Boom. Pow. 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 56 times in 81 seconds. That's what the American public saw on videotape.
Also in the Senate, Arlen Specter of Pennsylvania suggested the Senate Judiciary Committee hold hearings on the question of police brutality.
The rioting in Los Angeles prompted former California Governor Jerry Brown to change his campaign schedule today. Brown, who denounced the verdicts in the Rodney King beating case, scrapped campaign appearances in Nebraska and headed to Los Angeles. He said he was going back to California to help cool down emotions. Brown's chief Democratic rival, Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, said President Bush has fallen short in addressing the nation's underlying racial tensions. Clinton also said he was surprised by the verdicts.
All I can tell you is that I saw the films like millions of Americans, and I have real questions about it. And there is a difference between the law, which has been settled in the state courts, and what the morality of the situation was. And I think it is obvious that lurking beneath that verdict, there is this huge, gaping feeling that the system is broken, unresponsive, and unfair.
White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater accused Clinton of playing election year politics with the LA riots. Fitzwater said, and I'm quoting here, "I noticed that slippery Bill chose to treat this as a political opportunity." Meanwhile, President Bush's Republican challenger, Pat Buchanan, denounced the outbreak of violence in LA and other areas. Buchanan says the verdicts were decided in a fair trial by a conscientious jury. H. Ross Perot, who's considering an independent presidential bid, says he's disappointed by the verdicts and by the violence sparked by the verdicts. Perot is urging the federal government to demonstrate that justice will be done.
When World News continues, we will have more on the situation in Los Angeles. Stay tuned.
No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Here is an update now on the situation in Los Angeles. The LA County coroner is now reporting 17 riot-related deaths. Police say there are at least 14 people dead. Nearly 450 people are injured, 300 have been arrested. A nighttime curfew is taking effect throughout Los Angeles, and National Guard troops have moved in, all in the hope of preventing a second night of violence. Unrest, arson, and looting continued throughout this day. Violent reaction to yesterday's not guilty verdicts for 4 Los Angeles police officers. They were acquitted on assault charges in the beating of Rodney King. About 3 dozen fires in south central LA are still burning out of control. Hundreds of buildings have already been torched. Officials report calls for new fires are coming in all the time.
Turning now to other stories in the news. In Chicago, an 87-year-old man has been charged with negligent driving after his car jumped a curb and ran into a group of mostly school children at O'Hare International Airport. A 9-year-old girl was killed, at least 67 others injured, 7 of them critically. The children and several parents had just gotten off school buses when the car plowed into them. The driver reportedly told police he mistook the brakes for the accelerator and couldn't stop.
The House voted to overturn the Bush administration's controversial abortion gag rule, but the 268 to 150 vote isn't enough to override a threatened presidential veto. The bill says clinics cannot receive federal aid unless they provide patients with information on all pregnancy options, including abortion. The gag rule prohibits nurses and staff of federally funded clinics from counseling women on abortions. Unless the bill becomes law, the gag rule will go into effect in early May.
Efforts today to control the nicotine patch, the hottest new product to help people quit smoking. The consumer group Public Citizen asked the Food and Drug Administration to require warning labels on the product. They would caution that patches alone can't make someone give up smoking, and using them while still smoking could be dangerous. The manufacturers, meanwhile, deny using misleading ads in their media blitz. More than $300 million worth of patches have been sold in just the first 6 months.
The 5th round of Middle East peace talks wrapped up today with both sides exchanging concrete proposals to settle their differences. Israel says progress was made, but Arab negotiators claim little was accomplished. Israeli and Palestinian delegates differ on details for elections in the occupied territories, but both sides agree to continue talking. Diplomats say the talks have reached a new maturity and expect future rounds to be more intensive and fruitful.
Scientists have found the ozone layer thinning in the southern hemisphere for years. Now NASA confirms the protective layer is thinning in the northern hemisphere as well. In our science report, CNN's Miles O'Brien tells us about NASA's findings and its concerns.
After more than 2 months of survey flights over the northern hemisphere, NASA scientists confirmed the protective ozone layer there is indeed getting thinner.
The significance is that we normally have this enormous buildup of ozone in late winter at high latitudes. Most of the high latitude regions are covered by this large buildup of ozone. That high buildup is lower, so that region is receiving more ultraviolet radiation.
In addition, the latest NASA measurements gave scientists the clearest picture yet of how chemicals are depleting the ozone layer. The announcement was far less dramatic than last February, when NASA first alerted the world about serious ozone depletion over the northern hemisphere. Less ozone in the upper atmosphere means more harmful ultraviolet radiation reaches the Earth. That's already been proven in the southern hemisphere, where a thinning of the ozone appeared years ago. And under the southern ozone hole, there are signs that the higher dose of ultraviolet radiation is harming life on Earth. The incidence of skin cancer is up in parts of Australia, New Zealand, and South America. More recent studies link ultraviolet rays to cataracts, and scientists have found some plants react badly to increased exposure to the same harmful ultraviolet radiation. Though the ozone depletion is not as bad over the North Pole, experts warn against being lulled into a false sense of security.
Chemically, what's going on up in the north is very much like what's going on in the south, but the stage is set. Chemically, the conditions are there for really significant depletion in the north.
What's going on chemically? The protective ozone layer is being gradually eaten away by chlorine atoms. Chlorine that has been released into the atmosphere from the widespread use of man-made chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs. CFCs are used in refrigeration, the making of foam, and in the electronics industry. But CFCs are now recognized as the worst offender in the depletion of the ozone.
And what I've taken away from this is that instead of viewing a chemical as innocent until proven guilty, I now believe we need to view the release of chemicals that were not present during the evolution of the Earth as guilty until proven innocent.
It will be well into the next century before the ozone layer can heal itself from the damage already done. Miles O'Brien, CNN, reporting.
The videotape of Rodney King's confrontation with Los Angeles police officers has received widespread attention, from last year when King was arrested through yesterday's verdicts. CNN's Al Hinman reports the tape was a critical piece of evidence for the prosecutors and the defense attorneys.
The prosecution called the videotape of the Rodney King beating its star witness, an automatic indictment, said the prosecution, of the 4 accused police officers. But defense attorneys used the videotape to prove otherwise. The jury saw the tape dozens of times, often frame by frame or in slow motion. Officer Lawrence Powell was shown delivering the first blow to King. Powell said that King, who'd been shot twice with a stunning electric taser gun, was lying flat on the ground when, according to Powell, King suddenly rose to his feet and charged Officer Powell. Powell said he had no time to react and hit King across the shoulder. The prosecution said King was hit in the face. That point of contention is unclear on the videotape. King then crumpled to the ground, Powell said, like a rag doll. The videotape goes out of focus. Powell testified that when he turned toward King, he saw King trying to get back up. Powell can be seen delivering a flurry of baton blows. Testimony indicated that King was on all fours, attempting to stand up. Powell said he was frantically trying to keep King down. When the video comes back into focus, 5 other officers can be seen in a semicircle around King, who's seen lying face down on the ground, but with his head up. One expert on the use of force testified that every blow past this point was excessive, although another expert said all the blows were appropriate. Officer Ted Brasino's defense during the trial was that he thought the officers were out of control and that he tried to stop the beating. Brasino can be seen attempting to push Officer Powell away from King. But what Brasino did not see at the time, according to Powell, is that King was attempting to get back up on all fours. Powell says he saw it and delivered another baton blow. That's when Powell's partner, Officer Timothy Wynn, moved in, delivering baton blows as well. Wynn testified that his baton blows were being ordered and directed by Sergeant Stacy Kuhn, the supervising officer at the scene. Kuhn admitted he was directing the baton blows because he believed that King was on the hallucinogenic drug PCP, which often produces superhuman strength. Kuhn testified he based that assessment on the fact that King earlier had thrown off 4 officers while he was down on the ground, and that King was still walking after being shot twice with an electric taser gun. The tape shows King constantly rolling around, attempting to either deflect the baton blows or trying to get back up. But the defense pointed out that King never fully got into the compliance position ordered by the officers. That is, not until this point on the tape, when King appears to be trying to put his hands behind his back. Officer Brasino is seen stomping on King's neck. He told the court he was only trying to keep King down, afraid that if King continued to resist, someone would have shot King. But Officers Powell and Wynn said that when they saw King's body react to that kick, they thought King was trying to get back up, so they delivered more baton blows. Wynn then began kicking King in the back, he said, to get him back down on the ground. King is then seen rolling over, he's hit again, and then King sits up and puts his hands over his head. That's when Rodney King was finally taken into custody. In closing arguments, defense attorneys called their clients the thin blue line, guardians against the jungle. When it was over, the prosecution had failed to convince the jury that 81 seconds of videotape spoke for itself. Al Hinman, CNN, reporting.
When World News continues, we'll have more on the situation in Los Angeles. Much of the CNN coverage from Los Angeles has been made possible by the cooperation of our affiliates there. Those stations have provided us with both live pictures and taped material, sometimes at real risk to their photographers, technicians, and crews. And we take a moment here to thank them publicly. From arrest to trial, from angry aftermath to lawless rampage, the Rodney King case has been played out in pictures. CNN's Dennis Michael now reports on images and impact.
From the moment the beating was captured on videotape by a camcorder owner, this was a television story. Outraged reaction came in from around the world at the images of Rodney King's treatment at the hands and batons of a group of Los Angeles police officers. The trial, when moved to nearby Simi Valley, became a daily staple of local television. The local Fox TV affiliate in Los Angeles, KTTV, carried large portions of the trial, deleting entire blocks of daytime programming to do so. Others packaged the highlights of each day's argument and testimony to be recorded in the early morning hours. Viewers nationwide followed the trial as it was covered on network news and particularly the Court TV cable channel. The word of Wednesday's not guilty verdicts was delivered to the community via television.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Lawrence M. Powell, not guilty of the crime of assault by force likely to produce great bodily injury and with a deadly weapon.
Film director John Singleton was on the scene in Simi Valley.
By having this verdict, what these people have done, they lit the fuse to a bomb. And what happens after this, people are going to point to this, okay? That's all I have to say.
Programming returned to normal following the verdict, but within hours, local coverage went live again. TV helicopters caught the beginnings of the night of violence as a white worker was pulled from his truck and beaten. And as an originally non-violent demonstration at the downtown LAPD Parker Center turned ugly. And as African-American leaders gathered at a local church, many expressed their outrage.
Basically what that verdict said to us was that a black life isn't worth anything. We've been saying that for years. If the whole world saw it on the videotape, and then today for that verdict to come down makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to everybody here.
Mayor Tom Bradley urged the inflamed community to stay calm.
We, my friends, have been challenged. We've been abused.
We've been abused.
We are determined to turn this around and take the power control under our hands.
As night fell, helicopters filled the smoky skies over south central Los Angeles, and the dial filled with scenes of blazing buildings, looters, and confrontation. Some observers of television's role in this case are media figures who also have an intense personal concern about LA's African-American community.
It was a difficult decision for the jurors because the spotlight was on them. And that's, you know, if it was no light on the situation, they would have made it like, boom, okay, no problem. But the pressure came on because it was highly illuminated by media.
Los Angeles is a widespread metropolis, much of it separated from South Central LA by both geography and culture. But because of television, a small incident over a year ago has now reached every neighborhood and every home. Dennis Michael, CNN Entertainment News, Hollywood.
Now, before we close, here is an update on the situation in Los Angeles. A nighttime curfew is now in effect throughout the city, and police and 2,000 National Guard troops have taken up positions to enforce it. They hope to prevent a second night of violence. Unrest, arson, and looting continued throughout the day. Violent reaction to yesterday's not guilty verdicts for 4 Los Angeles police officers. They were acquitted on assault charges in the beating of Rodney King. Dozens of fires are burning in south central LA and other parts of the city, including Hollywood. The LA County coroner reports at least 17 riot-related deaths since yesterday. Police say there are at least 14. Nearly 450 people are injured and 300 have been arrested. Updating the situation now in Atlanta, where demonstrators turned into random acts of violence today. A curfew takes effect in just a few minutes from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m.
And that ends this hour of World News. We will, of course, keep you updated on the events in L.A. throughout the night with another report in 30 minutes, sooner if need be. For now, I'm Jonathan Mann at the CNN Center in Atlanta.
And I'm Susan Rook. Sports Tonight is next. Stay tuned.